always think 2 steps ahead when it comes to pricing things and then just also in general negotiation.
Okay, I've been working like 3 jobs. Probably why I never see ya. Probably why I never have time for the fake friends that won't be ya. Been bottom, but it's looking like they took a time out. Okay, I'm working on a Wednesday, then up again the next day. So-and-so is popping, man. I skip him like he leg day.
Conversation. So the dude wants to spend 200K and we're at 281K. But he wants to do everything that we're doing at the 281, but he wants to do it for 200. The 281 is split into 169 is monthly, total of monthly services, and 111 is one-time fees of web dev. This is where people screw themselves, is they will try and hit this number by reducing their monthly too much. Come next year, you do not want him to think that he can spend less than that. If he comes to you and says, like planning for the next year, oh, well, last year we did 200 and we got 3 websites. So this year my budget's only 140 or 150. So you have to try and make the one-time shit, like, we're gonna work a deal on that. I can't, when he says 200, it's not literally 200, right? There's ways that they can skin. Like there's other stuff that they do and they can, rob from Peter to pay Paul. But this is like the biggest mistake. So people would be like, okay, 200, let's say the website, we go from 111 to like, let's say we're at 75K. And we take 170 to 125K. Like that's the 200 that he's looking for. Well, come next year, this is the only thing that you got is 125. So don't cut off your nose in spite of your face. So there's three brands. We're at 75%, 75, 75 of effort in this quarter. Then we go by quarter 2, first website is done. And we're at 100% effort on that, but then 75, 75. What we could do is say 50, 50, 50, 100, 50, 50. At 100%, this is what you get. But we're only gonna do 75% effort, and I think I pulled out like one article or 2 articles a month for each of the companies is not being done. Yeah. But then come the quarter 2, one of the companies gets all of their articles, the other 2 are still less. Like salespeople do this shit all the time, and sometimes business owners do. They'll be like, oh yeah, but I'm not gonna reduce price, or I'm not gonna budge on that, or whatever. And then what I always say to them is, what's 20% commission of 0? They're like, well, 0. Well, yeah, because you're not gonna close a deal. You don't get any commission. Salespeople get like a little bit too bullish sometimes about, like, I don't want to reduce price because that affects their commission. Well, if you don't either reduce service or reduce price a little, even with website and that, you go from, like, we need to be at 200, we're at 281, so you go down to like maybe 258. You're still 58,000 over. That's where budgets are budgets, right? And that's why going through this, like that's where I'm just gonna call and be like, I mean, 20K, can I get 20K off? Yeah. But if what you're saying is true, we're 80 over. So how can we make them meet? This is the only way. You either lower expectations or you lower price.
Right.
So reduce the scope or reduce the price. Or get creative with billables, because sometimes people are like, I don't have it in the budget this year, but if we punt some of this out into next year, then I do have the budget. It also depends on what part of the year you're at. Because sometimes at the end of the year, if people are like, I want to do everything, then you can maybe say, just delay this one aspect till it goes into the following year's budget when you have budget allowed. Or like you can do discounts, but you can only get so far. Like if you're 10% different, then don't be greedy and give them 7. If you're 30% off, then like you got to give from both sides, ideally, right? Somebody says, I want to spend 100 and you're at 150. All right, I'll come down 25 to where I'm at 125. They go up 25. So you're both, it's a win-win then. But reducing the scope is the best for the person that's getting paid. But usually the people don't want that, right? They're like, yeah, but I still want, like, I need that to give us revenue boost to then, you know, get it to pay back. So then you could go back into sales mode, right? Like that's, the different stages of selling is first you're pitching to them and trying to sell them and you're trying to provide them value. But then if you get to the point where they're like, I can't afford it, I need you to come down, like we need to make this work, then that usually means that you didn't provide enough value. So you could go back into, like, you could break it down to where, okay, but I'm doing this, and if I do this much work for you, here's what you're gonna get in return, and focus on that number of what the deliverables are. And like, and that will pay this off in this amount of time, and focus on the return on investment and less about the actual like dollar amount. So it's really selling that value. They didn't budget for $100K in web dev stuff at all. That was not in their plan. And the first thing we hit them with is like, we could do your marketing, but your websites suck. So you have to change those. If you create all this great shit and then you send them to a website and it's like not ready to accept that, and it's not optimized, and the website looks like shit and it doesn't match what you're doing, then what ends up happening is they don't get the conversions. So the mistake that people will make is, let's say their monthly recurring, this is strictly with services, their monthly recurring is 100,000, and the guy or girl's like, you know, I can't spend that much. They reduce their monthly the first year to meet that budget constraint, not realizing that they just cut off their nose in spite of their face for the next year, because you've just done a year's worth at 80, you know, instead of 100, and now they're going to expect the second year to be at that same dollar amount. So you just lost whatever you gave up the first year, you lost. Right, you're like, I've been paying this for this much year, and then you can even go down the path, like that's something that people do a lot, like every year you raise prices, you have to. Cost goes up for everything. Right, at a minimum 3% to like a person, but from a business standpoint, you're increasing like 5 to 7%, let's say a year. Even though you're getting more efficient, you're trying to increase margin, but cost is going up, so that plays in a factor. So that's when you hit people with like, yeah, it was 100 grand last year, but it's 110 this year. Nobody likes that. But if you deliver results, it doesn't matter. You can say it's 120 because you've produced above the expectations that they have. Always think 2 steps ahead when it comes to pricing things, and then just also in general negotiation. Like, is somebody's budget really their budget? Just because they say that's my budget, I can't go over it, does not mean that that's the truth. That may be what they want to do. Maybe you need to sell more value to get them to realize that they need to increase their budget. Or you tell them to, you know, if their overarching budget, let's say you got to like do work on a house or something like that, and you're like, I can spend you know, 20,000 on this with you to do my whatever. And they're like, yeah, but you're doing all this other stuff to your house. Well, yeah, but all I allocated with you is this. Well, take from those guys. Take from somebody else. Reduce something else that maybe isn't working or that you're being overcharged on. Reduce that to free up your money to spend with me. That's the better path to go down. Salespeople usually are too quick to just say, I got one on the hook, like I'm ready to close them, like they're right there, super excited, and they just make really rudimentary, like foundational mistakes of just jumping ahead and reducing stuff or doing giveaways, or like what's the lowest that I can go, what's the most discount I can give. You gotta just be thinking big picture and just get creative, because if you're just strictly like, I'll give you 10% off. Because like I was saying before, the salesperson is looking at it from a commission standpoint. If they're making 2%, 10%, 20% commission, they're thinking, I don't want to reduce price too much because that comes out of my pocket on commission, but your 20% of a zero sale is still zero. Does not matter. So I'd rather take, if my commission is normally 20 or 10, I'd rather take that amount on half of the total than stick to my guns and take that amount of zero and lose the deal. I mean, that's something that people deal with in any business. Does not matter. Doesn't matter if you're selling services, like products at the highest level, the people are dealing with that, like product managers and people that set pricing, they deal with that pricing issue. But smaller businesses and services, especially, it all just comes down to, like, you're gonna deal with this every damn day, no matter what, every day. So it's finding that balance. That's what we're about to do, find that balance. I started working through some stuff, so I wanted to get your thoughts. So walk me through what's going on your side. Right. Well, that, and then also maybe it doesn't necessarily come from the site. Pushing out branding hard is going to drive people into it, right? It's not necessarily like if the website's going to do an ROI. It's more we're driving traffic to the site, and now it's actually going to produce an ROI. So I basically broke it down into a couple different scenarios. You know, you could push out. That would save you some money. We could reduce the amount, you know, we had that staggered approach of doing 75% of an effort on all three businesses for the first quarter, and then 100% effort on them, while the other two are at 75. We can reduce that scope to say 75, but the other ones are at 50%. That's just really gonna be, you know, it's not gonna save you a ton, but like right now it's at, if we did a discount on the website to bring that down, let's say we took like 15% off, and we did, you know, reduce some of the monthly effort, we got to get really creative with that. So you don't want to reduce, yeah, and I'm with you there. I don't want to reduce that push either, because that's what's going to actually, that's where the rubber meets the road, right? Is there no wiggle room on that? Like if we got close, can you steal budget from, I don't know, somewhere else? Or can the budget increase? I don't know, $1,000 a month or something. I'd have to look to see, but without hurting the quality, being like on some of the things she might be able to take care of instead of having us do it, just to get the overall number down. Without taking from marketing, that's what I mean, is like without stealing from trade shows or lead generation services or all the other stuff, is there like, you know, 40, 50K hiding in, I don't know, coffee expenses for the employees or something like that? Hopefully not, right? I was looking at it as that if we create the strategy and we kind of lay things out and we start doing things, I know that she has marketing skill set, being able to leverage her time, and she'd probably be excited about it because she's going to learn things and also be contributing. Offset, you know, our cost is going to be more than hers, obviously, right? So say like, okay, we're gonna have you create these graphics for social, but we're gonna tell you which images to use or how to do it. We're gonna do the first 20, and then we want you to work with us to do the next 20, and then kind of push the deliverable off on her. To create it, because it's just a time standpoint. Treat her in our system as somebody that works for me. You know, we would just say, okay, these are your tasks that you have to do. And then just once she gets them done, so that could reduce some of the monthly, and then we could work on some stuff for the website to try and get down as low as possible. So let me crunch some numbers on my end. When are you guys going to be able to, I know you said you want to start ASAP, but what part of the process are you guys at? And I want to spend probably a half a day or at least a couple hours with your current marketing coordinator, just to understand skill sets and bandwidth. And so yeah, and so once we get signed and set up and that's going, then the next thing's going to be what date can we come in? So we'd book that out, like let's say 2 weeks out, but we'd be ready to start right away. We're anxious to get going on it. So let me do some stuff on my end to see how I can try and figure out the monthly and then figure out the website stuff. We're probably going to have to end up getting pretty creative with it. So let me get creative and see what we can do, and I'll send you an updated proposal with the I'm just going to be changing the pricing and changing some of the notes, but I'm not going to go through every page of the proposal because then it's just going to be lengthy for you to read through it. So I'll summarize it probably in an email too. All right, sounds good. Bye. So sometimes in sales, you got to get creative when you're trying to close a deal. It's not just going to be cookie cutter. You send a quote, they say, oh, I need a little bit less, and then you give them a discount. and just move on and close the deal. You got to get creative, work together. If it's a partnership, it's well worth doing it. So if you guys got value out of that content, hit that like button. If you got questions, leave it below in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm frozen. I don't know what to say.